wants to read verses 1 through 7? 7 whole Bible verses. Big challenge. Anybody? Okay, what version do you want?
I'm on the message.
Okay, you can read it.
Jesus' book doesn't have a New Testament, by the way.
I thought it had an Old Testament.
Or an Old Testament thing.
Okay, good.
Anyway, the serpent was clever, more clever than any wild animal God had made. He spoke to the woman, "Do I understand that God told you not to eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "Not at all. We can eat from the trees in the garden. It's only about the tree in the middle of the garden that God said, 'Don't eat from it. Don't even touch it or you'll die.'" The serpent told the woman, "You won't die. God knows that the moment you eat from the tree, you'll see what's really going on. You'll be just like God, knowing everything, ranging all the way from good and evil." When the woman saw the tree looked like good and evil, and realized that what she would get out of it, she'd know everything. She took and ate from the fruit, and gave some to her husband, and he ate. Immediately the two of them did see what's going on, saw themselves naked. They sewed fig leaves together and makeshift clothes for themselves.
Alright, good. So, right there, we're not going to go through the whole chapter, I think I did last time, but right there we see how God made a commandment. Don't eat the tree, the ate of it anyway. Earlier on this year we talked about why the tree was there, it was to give us a choice, so that we could sin if we wanted to, and here's where it happened. They decided to disobey God, to go against what he said, because Satan lied to them and said, "Oh, no, that's not really true, you won't actually die." They believed him, they turned away from God, ate of the tree, and fell. And that's where it all started. And again, let me bring up something else I brought up earlier on this year, which is original sin. Another thing that scoffers like to scoff about, I guess, to Christians and especially apologetic speakers is, well, why am I accountable for something that somebody did over 5,000 years ago? Good question. Does it matter? When you have a child, you have to raise them to be good, or they won't. Anyone here seen the movie Courageous? Good movie. Well, it shared a statistic in there, I don't know the exact statistic, but it was talking about how a high percentage of the teenagers who join gangs grew up without a father figure. Is that a coincidence? You have to raise your children to serve the Lord, or at least to be good. Even if you're not raised in a Christian household, generally if you're raised without parents or without good parents, you turn up rotten. It's not always generally. So, with original sin, you're born with that nature. You're born wanting to steal, wanting to lie, wanting to cheat. It's just built into you. So whether you personally think it's fair or not, really doesn't matter. It's out there, it's happening. And God didn't make it that way. God made it so that we'd all be perfect, but that's not the way it worked. Man sinned, man's cursed. We're in a curse court. And I talked about that earlier on this year when we talked about why bad things happen. But today we're not going to talk about why bad things happen while we're still alive. Today we're going to talk about the next step. What happens on Judgment Day? When you're standing before the Lord and you don't have Jesus. You're saying, "Oh, but Lord, I didn't believe in you and I didn't believe that Jesus was my Savior, but I did help all these people while I was alive." That's right. It doesn't matter. Because here's the problem. For every person that you've helped, how many times have you sinned? How many times have you turned your back on the Lord? How many times have you done something that dishonors Him or that brings glory away from Him? Especially if you're an atheist and have never brought glory to God. Your sin will always outnumber your good deeds, I guarantee it. And even if you can somehow get that ratio to flip so that you've done more good than you have bad, what did Jesus say when the disciples asked him, how many times should we forgive them? 7? What did he say? 7 times, was it 77? 70 times 7, yeah.
It was like 57, Isaiah 57, your good deeds are dirty rags.
Yeah. I think we've been past that number by now. The 70 times 7 or whatever it was. We're past that already. But yet God forgives us. So now, let's see. Read through Romans, read through Genesis 3. Let's talk a little bit about what hell is. Any ideas? When I say hell, what's the first thing you think of?
Separation from God.
The devil, separation from God, you beat me to it, you're kicked out. Anything else? Immediately, what do you think?
Fire.
Fire. Of course, fire, yeah. What? What else? Big mountain of bones. Some dragon flying around.
Didn't they make a movie like back in like the 50s?
Probably.
I think there's a movie basically what it was like. It was a pretty popular movie. I guess. That's not
Crazy bad, but
somebody's got a picture of it.
like there's this video game
They're
that
like-
that's based in hell,
Naked
and like there's like people in the wall, like the walls are made of dead people, and like inside are like dead people screaming and stuff.
What is it?
I forgot what it's called. I don't
Video game?
know. Yeah, it was.
So, these are common things that we think of. You know, bones, dead bodies, fire, the devil. And in a lot of the popular movies and everything that feature hell, in fact, I've never seen a movie that has hell in it that hasn't done this, is the devil's usually sitting on a throne of bones or something, and he's ruling over everything, and demons are going around whipping people that didn't know Christ, and is that how it's really going to be? You know, it does describe it as a lake of fire. We'll say that. But, sulfur, sorry. The message says fire. But, you know, what is hell really? Or at least, what was it made for? If I can find my slide. Up here. Hell was not made for humans. I'll go right out and say that first. A lot of people say, well, you know, if God doesn't want to send people to hell, why is it even there? And the answer is, plain and simple. It wasn't made for humans. It was made for the devil. It was not made for the devil to rule in. It was made for the devil to burn in. You know, when you're having a bad day and the devil is just beating you down, rest assured he's going to pay for it. Him and all of the angels that fell with him. If you turn to Revelation 20:10, complete other side of the book. Flip it out. Revelation 20:10. First person to find it, read it.
Go for it, Denise.
And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever.
That sounds fun. But
Go
right
read
there,
it, Nico.
right there, it talks about, you know, the devil and his angels are turned into hell. That's what it was made for, the devil. Because he was the first one to turn away from God. He got proud. He was thinking, oh, look at me. You know, I'm as good as God is, and boom, you're gone. Yeah, in the music department up in heaven. Morning Star, you know, he was kicked out. You know, I can't think of the verse off the top of my head where it says that, and Jesus saw him fell from heaven like lightning, right? And it's talking about, you know, hell was made as punishment for Satan, for the things that he's done, for the things he's going to do to us. Alright? So, when we decided to turn away from God and listen to Satan instead of God, we joined him. We got in the same boat. And since then, everyone who sinned, which is everyone except Jesus, has been condemned to hell, basically. Now, this is where we kind of run into that problem where, but what about God's love? You know, if he really loves us, why would he let this happen? And you kind of get this wall in the middle of the loving and just God. He can't be both. At least that's what the skeptics think. They say he can't be both. It's impossible. There's no way that you can be both loving and send people to hell. And there's no way you can be just if you don't send people to hell. Because as it says right there in Romans 3:23, we have all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. This has got to be a big contradiction. There's no way that you can just erase that wall. You can't have a God all loving and a God all just. And who said that quote? Can't think of the guy's name. A God all mercy is a God unjust. How true is that?